Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got a couple of trade rumors to discuss involving the New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, New York Islanders, Winnipeg Jets, and Carolina Hurricanes. I'll go to all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to the video here at the NHL Hockey Channel. Before we end this video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe down below, thank all your support when you're able to help you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so you can also discuss today's video. Now before we get into the rumor part of this video, I just want to go quickly over and talk about 14 players who have officially filed for salary arbitration. Remember, the arbitration is for players who are eligible to do this. The players can file for arbitration and take their contracts if they're in a stalemate or something, or if it seems like it might go on for a long period of time, they might take it to an arbitrator so they can get a deal done and get guaranteed to have it before training camp. And remember, all the players who file for arbitration, not all of them will get to arbitration. There might be one or two, but usually these things get done before arbitration. But just a list here. So Oliver Wahlstrom in New York is going to be going to arbitration. Joe Veleno in Detroit. Spencer Stastny in Nashville. Martin Necas in Carolina. J.J. Moser in Tampa Bay, Kirill Marchenko in Columbus, Buffalo and Beck Malenstein, as well as Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, New York Rangers and Ryan Lindgren, Jack Greaves in Columbus, Ty Emberson in San Jose, Jack Drury in Carolina, Connor Dewar in Toronto, and Jay Christensen in Columbus. So lots of interesting names there. Some of the bigger ones are Moser in Tampa, Necas in Carolina for sure, Veleno in Detroit, Wahlstrom in New York Marchenko in Columbus, Luukkonen in Buffalo, Lindgren in New York Drury in Carolina, Dewar in Toronto. So interesting names there. So lots of interesting players going to be filing for salary arbitration. These hearings will probably take place at some point between July 20th and August 5th. Club elected arbitration will also be happening over the next day or two, so we should know if there's any more arbitration cases, and then they should have a list of what sort of arbitration cases will happen over the next time frame. So it'll be interesting to see, but those 14 players will be heading for salary arbitration, and we'll see if any of those guys are going to actually go to arbitration or if they will be able to get settled before them. But we've got a couple of trade rumors to talk about. We haven't talked about some rumors in quite some time now, so I'm going to talk about just a few teams here. First, New York Rangers. What's going on with them? There was a lot of talk about Jacob Trouba being moved at the draft, potentially on July 1st, and there has been a deal right now. So interesting stuff there for the Rangers. I mean, by the time it says YouTube, maybe there's already been a Trouba trade, but it's been an interesting fiasco. It sounds like Trouba doesn't really want to leave New York, and he didn't really want to go to a team like Detroit, like it was being mentioned he was going to go to. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens. The Rangers do have Ryan Lindgren on the arbitration thing, and if they do wind up going to arbitration, there's a very likely chance that they could have a buyout window after the arbitration period. So it'll be interesting to note there. But they could look to buy out Jacob Trouba. They may look to try and still move on from him. It'll be interesting to see what happens there for the Rangers, but it sounds like Trouba's still on the block and they still want to move him. It sounds like they still want to try and move Kakko after signing him about a month ago. It's something they're still open to moving Kakko. That's a little bit surprising in my opinion. I still think Kakko could be a really good third line winger there, but it does seem that they would be open to moving him for the right price. I think they still might want to try and add another middle six forward there for that team, so it would not be overly surprising if Kakko could be a part of a bigger package to bring them forward. So I would not be overly surprised if they're in on guys like Ehlers or an Necas, so we'll have to wait and see on that, but it seems like Kakko is a very likely chance to be dealt at some point. So interesting stuff there for Rangers, but it sounds like Kakko and Trouba are still on the block, and they might be dealt before the season starts, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Going over to the Philadelphia Flyers, there's still some people out there who think that Farabee will probably get moved at some point. Farabee's a really good middle six forward. He could definitely help out a lot of teams' middle sixes. Teams like Utah comes to mind, Buffalo, a team like New York, like I just said, who could use some offensive help. Vegas, who hasn't made a big splash yet. Anaheim, who still has a plethora of cap space. Even Calgary, to some extent, could all have some interesting guys like Farabee. I think the asking price for Farabee would be something like a second-round pick and a really good prospect. I think a lot of people are sort of trying to lowball the Flyers on Farabee because it doesn't seem like Tortorella really likes him, but I do think they'll need to step up their offer if they want to try and add Farabee. But Farabee's a solid player, could put up 25 to 30 goals, so I definitely think there's a couple teams out there who might try and acquire him. Same thing with Morgan Frost. We know that last year he did not work out overly well with Tortorella, so I do still wonder about Farabee and Frost potentially being moved at some point, so we'll have to keep our eyes details on that, but definitely keep your eye on Philadelphia potentially moving on from Farabee and Frost. Going over to the Winnipeg Jets, there was some talk before this Coughlin deal went down with Carolina that the reason why it was taking so long to get down was because it was a bigger deal that would involve guys like Ehlers and McGroarty going to Carolina. That never did happen, so we're still waiting for those two teams. They just have been very inactive so far, so I do wonder if we still see a move or two from them moving Ehlers, moving McGroarty. We know McGroarty wants a fresh start. We know Ehlers probably wants to be moved on and probably won't be back with the Jets this next year, so it will be interesting to see exactly what happens there. I'm not exactly sure what teams could have some interest. I heard teams like Boston maybe have some interest, Montreal, New York, but they're all really high against the cap, so it'll be difficult moves to make, but I definitely do still see Ehlers and McGroarty potentially being trade chips there for the Jets. Going over to Carolina Hurricanes, there's still some talk about potentially Necas being dealt. Now, Necas has filed for salary arbitration, so if they do go to salary arbitration, there's a very likely chance that trade doesn't happen, but if they are able to make a move before the arbitration date, I think there's still a possibility Necas does get moved. I think they still really would like a first-round pick, a really good prospect, and something else. So, not exactly sure if they've really come down off their asking price, but Necas is, like I said, a really good player. I think Necas wants to sign a long-term deal elsewhere. He's just not going to sign it in Carolina, and if he does go arbitration, he'll probably get a 1 to 2 year deal. So, interesting stuff there for the Hurricanes, but I do still think Necas could be on the block, and especially after losing guys like Teravainen, Pesce, Shea, Nosen on the forward group, I think they could definitely use some more forward help. So I'm not sure if they'll try and keep Necas or if they'll move Necas to try and get some other help elsewhere. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And lastly, going over to New York Islanders, could they try and move a couple of players who are still high priced? I know they probably want to make one more addition. There's been some talk about Ehlers. There's been some talk about some other players who they could try and go after. Maybe a guy like Farabee. So they still want to try and add some more forward help, but they really don't have too much cap space to do so. So could they try and offload one of Anders Lee or Jean-Gabriel Pageau to a team to try and improve it? There's been some talk about that happening for that team. Teams who have over $50 million in cap space who could try and help the Islanders facilitate a deal to try and improve that forward group. I mean, if they're looking to move off Anders Lee or if they're looking to move off Jean-Gabriel Pageau, teams who they could be looking to try and deal with would be a team like Calgary and Anaheim, who both have over $20 million in cap space and really don't have too many huge players to sign, or Columbus, who could definitely use another forward player, or Utah, who still has over $50 million in cap space. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there, but the Islanders, I think, could still be looking to move off from a guy like Pageau. There's also a possibility of a buyout with them having Wahlstrom as an arbitration date. There's a very likely chance that they have a buyout window after that Wahlstrom arbitration date, and if that's true, they could try and buy out a guy like Anders Lee. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there, but I wouldn't be overly shocked if we saw the Islanders try and make some moves to try and deal off some players. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I'll let you guys thoughts on what you think down in the comment section below. Do the Islanders move off another player or two before the season starts? Do the Canes move Necas? Do the Jets move Ehlers or McGroarty? Do the Flyers move Farabee or Frost? And could the Rangers move Trouba or Kakko? Definitely let you guys thoughts on this down in the comment section below and what you think about all of this. Plus what you think about the arbitration dates. Definitely let you guys thoughts on all of this. But that's what I'm going to talk about for today. I'm going to tell you this video. If you're liking, subscribe down below. Thank you for your support when you're able to love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below. So someone else listening to this video. Also a blog time with news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. Leave it in the description below. And I can't see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.